The silence of a suburban midnight is shattered not by a scream, but by the chilling click of a hung-up receiver. 22-year-old Elena Vance stood in her kitchen, the glow of the refrigerator casting long, jagged shadows against the wall. She had just answered a 30-second call from a number that didn't exist. 5 minutes later, her front door stood wide open. Her car engine was still idling in the driveway, and Elena was gone. No struggle, no blood.
Just a half-eaten sandwich on the counter and a dial tone that would haunt this town for decades. Sometimes the most terrifying monsters don't break into your house.
They call you first. To understand the tragedy of Elena Vance, one must understand the world she inhabited. It was 2004, in the quiet, fog-drenched town of Oakhaven, a place where residents prided themselves on never locking their back doors. Elena was a woman of routine and ambition. A graduate student specializing in forensic psychology, she was ironically obsessed with the very shadows that would eventually consume her. She was described by her mother, Martha, as bright enough to light up a room, but cautious enough to check the locks twice. The setting was idyllic but isolating. The Vance household sat at the edge of a dense forest line, where the trees seemed to lean in, listening to the secrets of the inhabitants. Elena lived alone, a choice she made to focus on her thesis. Her life was a meticulous arrangement of color-coded notes and scheduled coffee dates. But in the weeks leading up to November 12th, the rhythm began to falter. Friends noticed Elena checking her phone with a frequency that bordered on paranoia. She mentioned breather calls where no one spoke, but she could hear the rhythmic heavy sound of someone existing on the other end of the line. She brushed it off as a prank, a glitch in the newly emerging digital grid. She was wrong. November 12th started like any other Friday. Elena attended her morning seminars, bought a medium roast coffee from the local bakery, and waved to her neighbor, Mr. Henderson, who was raking leaves. At 8:45 p.m., Elena settled in for a night of studying. The wind began to pick up, rattling the old window frames of her Victorian-style rental. At 10:12 p.m., she sent a final text to her sister. "I think someone is standing in the tree line. Call you tomorrow." That tomorrow never came. At 11:30 p.m., the landline rang. This was the catalyst. According to phone records later recovered, the call lasted exactly 33 seconds. We can only imagine the conversation. Was it a voice she recognized, a threat, or simply a command to look outside? The psychological tension of those 33 seconds is the epicenter of this mystery. Neighbors later reported hearing a car door slam, not with violence, but with a deliberate, calm finality. When Elena's sister, Sarah, couldn't reach her the next morning, she drove to the house. She found the front door ajar. The interior was freezing, the heater having struggled against the November chill pouring in from the open entrance. Elena's keys were still in the ignition of her sedan in the driveway. Her purse was on the passenger seat. Her cell phone lay in the center of the kitchen floor, cracked, as if it had been dropped in a moment of sheer paralysis. The investigation launched by the Oakhaven Police Department was immediate but plagued by the era's technological limitations. Lead Detective Marcus Thorne noted something chilling. There were no forced entry marks, no signs of a struggle. It was as if Elena had simply walked out of her life and into the void. The one phone call became the primary focus. Investigators discovered the call originated from a spoofed number, a technique rare in 2004 tracing back to a defunct payphone in a neighboring county that had been out of service for 3 years. How does a dead phone make a live call? The search intensified. Divers scoured the nearby Blackwood Lake, and K-9 units tore through the forest. They found one item, a single silver earring belonging to Elena, located 2 miles deep into the woods, resting perfectly on a flat stone like an altar. This suggested a predator who wasn't just violent, but ritualistic. Suspects were few. Mr. Henderson was questioned, but had an airtight alibi. An ex-boyfriend was interrogated for 72 hours, but his grief was deemed too genuine. His location tracked to a city 3 hours away during the disappearance. Then came the breakthrough that turned the case cold. A local gas station's grainy CCTV footage from 11:50 p.m. showed a dark SUV speeding away from the direction of Elena's house. In the passenger seat, a figure resembling Elena could be seen, but she wasn't tied up. She was sitting perfectly still, staring straight ahead. It was the look of someone under total psychological collapse or chemical sedation. The driver was nothing more than a silhouette, a shadow behind the wheel.
For years, the case sat on a shelf gathering dust until a private investigator in 2019
used modern signal triangulation to realize that the dead payphone call had actually been routed through an illegal pirate transmitter located less than half a mile from Elena's home. This changed everything. It meant the killer wasn't a stranger passing through. He was a watcher. He was someone who could see her window from his own. He knew when she was lonely, when she was vulnerable,
and exactly what to say during those 33 seconds to make her walk out that door without a fight. Was it a threat against her family?
Or did he lure her with a lie so convincing that her maternal instinct or her desire to help overcame her sense of self-preservation? The chilling reality of the Elena Vance case lies in the silence that followed. There were no ransom notes, no bodies found in the shallow graves of the Oakhaven woods, and no more calls. The forest, dense and unforgiving, swallowed the secrets of that night.
Forensic experts later theorized that the breather calls were a form of psychological conditioning,
a way for the predator to break down Elena's defenses and monitor her reactions. He was playing a long game, turning her sanctuary into a cage long before he ever stepped foot on her property. The silver earring found on the stone remains the only physical evidence of her presence in those woods, leading many to believe she was taken to a secondary location, a place far removed from the prying eyes of small-town gossip. The psychological profile of the perpetrator suggests a high-functioning individual, someone capable of blending into the fabric of society while harboring a dark, obsessive compulsion. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a masterpiece of cold, calculated abduction. The use of a spoofed number and a pirate transmitter indicates a level of technical sophistication that was ahead of its time for 2004, pointing towards someone with a background in telecommunications or electronic engineering. Yet, despite these leads, the trail remains frozen. Every year on November 12th, a single white rose is left at the edge of the Vance driveway. No one knows who leaves it. The police have staked out the area, used night vision cameras, and monitored local flower shops, but the ghost of Oakhaven remains elusive, delivering the flower with the same impossible stealth he used to take Elena. Public reaction has shifted from fear to a somber, lingering mystery that defines the town. The Vance house has changed owners 4 times, but each resident eventually leaves, citing an unshakable feeling of being watched from the tree line. The open-ended nature of the case serves as a haunting reminder that sometimes the digital footprints we leave behind are the very breadcrumbs used by those who wish us harm. The case of Elena Vance isn't just a story of a disappearance. It's a cautionary tale about the invisible threads that connect us all, and how easily they can be pulled until everything unveils. Even now, investigators look at the cracked phone found on the kitchen floor and wonder, what were the final words Elena heard? Was it a plea for help, a terrifying command, or simply her own name whispered by a voice she thought she could trust? The lack of closure is a wound that never heals for the Vance family, who still keep her bedroom exactly as it was, waiting for a girl who vanished into the digital static of a 33-second phone call. The shadows in Oakhaven are long, and the secrets they hold are even longer. As the years turn into decades, the question remains, is the person who made that call still walking among us, waiting for the next time a phone rings in the dead of night? This mystery challenges our sense of security in our own homes. It forces us to ask how well we truly know our neighbors, and how much power we give to a simple device sitting on our nightstands. Elena Vance was a woman of science and logic, yet she was taken by something that defied both. Her story is a dark stain on the history of Oakhaven, a puzzle with a missing center that no amount of modern technology seems able to fill. As we close this file, we are left with the chilling image of a car idling in a driveway, its headlights cutting through the fog, illuminating a path that Elena Vance walked down and never returned from. The one phone call remains the most terrifying element, a bridge between the safety of the known and the horror of the unknown. Who was on the other end? Where is Elena now? And why, after all these years, does the mystery only seem to grow deeper and darker with every passing day? The truth is out there, buried perhaps in the very woods where that silver earring was found, or perhaps it's hidden in plain sight, behind a friendly smile or a helpful neighborly gesture. To further expand on the chilling details discovered years later, we must look at the digital diary Elena kept on her laptop, an encrypted file that took the FBI nearly a decade to crack. In those entries, Elena didn't just write about the calls. She wrote about a feeling of being measured. She described seeing a glint of light from the deep woods every night at exactly 11 p.m., like someone was using a telescope or a high-powered lens to watch her move through her kitchen. She wrote, "He knows my schedule better than I do. He knows when I brew my tea, when I turn off the hall light, and when I sit by the window to think." This level of stalking suggests that the abduction wasn't the beginning of the crime, but the grand finale. The psychological torture she endured in silence is perhaps more heartbreaking than the disappearance itself. Why didn't she tell the police sooner? In a small town like Oakhaven, she likely feared being labeled the crazy girl or thought the authorities would dismiss it as a mere admirer gone too far. This silence gave the predator the room he needed to operate. He didn't just steal her body. He slowly dismantled her sense of reality until the only thing left was the sound of his voice on that final call. Imagine the scene. The phone rings, she answers out of habit or fear, and the voice on the other end says something so specific about her current moment, perhaps describing what she is wearing or what's on the television, that she realizes she is completely exposed. The hunter had the deer in his sights, and all he had to do was whistle. Rumors still circulate in online forums about a hidden room in an abandoned farmhouse nearby, where walls were allegedly covered in photos of Elena. But these remain unverified urban legends. What is verified is the fact that her bank account was never touched, her passport never used, and no trace of her DNA has ever appeared in any database across the country. She didn't run away to start a new life. She was erased. As the wind howls through the Oakhaven trees tonight, one can't help but wonder if the watcher is still out there, his finger hovering over a keypad, ready to dial another number. This case serves as a grim milestone in true crime history, the point where technology became a weapon in the hands of the shadow dwellers. Elena's legacy is now a mixture of grief and a warning to us all. Her name is whispered in the halls of criminal justice classes as the ultimate cold case, the one that got away. But for those who knew her, she isn't a case study. She is a daughter, a sister, and a friend whose laughter was silenced by 33 seconds of static and a voice from the dark. The investigation remains open, but with every passing year, the fog gets thicker. Some say the truth will only come out when the perpetrator wants it to, a final act of control in a lifelong game of cat and mouse. Until then, we are left to stare at the screen, listening for a ringtone that never comes, hoping that somewhere, somehow, Elena found peace away from the man who called her into the night. What do you think happened during those final 33 seconds? Was Elena coerced, or did she know her captor? Could the killer still be living in Oakhaven, watching the town's reaction to his perfect crime? The silence is deafening, but the questions won't stop until the final piece of the puzzle is found. Every detail we uncover leads to more questions, every suspect leads to a dead end, and every lead vanishes like mist. The dark case files remain open on Elena Vance, a haunting reminder that some calls should never be answered. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into the disappearance of Elena Vance. If you found this case as haunting as we did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Dark Case Files for more deep dives into the world's most chilling mysteries. Every subscription helps us bring more light to these cold cases and honors the memory of those who can no longer speak for themselves. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new file. We have many more stories to tell, many more shadows to explore, and many more truths to uncover. Your support is what keeps this channel going. Until next time, stay safe, keep your doors locked, and remember, not every phone call is worth answering. What's your theory on this case? Let us know in the comments below. See you in the next mystery. Stay vigilant, because the dark never sleeps.